Hello. All right. So now we're going to talk about graphing parabolas. Okay. So what a parabola is basically it's the graph of something that looks like this, really, like a U-shaped thing, or sometimes they're this way. When you get to algebra 2, they're this way and this way. Well, we're going to talk about graphing those. So I know we're used to graphing lines, which is like y equals mx plus b, y equals mx plus b, and you just get a straight line. The things that cause these parabolas, these U-shaped things, is when you have x to the second power stuff. So parabola might be something that looks like this, okay? Which is kind of what we've been dealing with for the last couple weeks, right? But before we get into actually graphing a parabola, I want to talk to you this week about knowing different key points of what a parabola is. That way you know how to graph them when it's time. So let's talk. So I'm going to break all of these parts because this might look a little crazy. I'm going to break all this down into two separate parts. So in this video or this section, we're going to be focusing on y-intercept, which you should be kind of used to, x-intercepts, and there's going to be two of them normally. So we're going to focus on our intercepts and something that we call zeros or roots. Zeros, roots, solutions. 3 words for the same thing, which is kind of annoying. I don't know why they did that to us, but they did. So, x-intercepts, right? You have your x-axis that runs horizontally. So we have an intercept here. We have an x-intercept here. But remember, those are coordinate points. So when you're talking about the x-intercepts, there's 2 of them. And in this case, our x-intercepts would be, so this point here would be -1, 0, right? You go back 1 in the x direction, nowhere in the y direction. This would be 3,
Good morning, everyone, and happy Wednesday. Just to let you know, today
okay, so those are the x-intercepts. Now our y-intercept, right? Remember the y-axis goes up and down like this. So our y-intercept is the point at which it crosses over the y-axis. So there's only one of those, and it would be 0, -3, right? You go 0 in the x direction and then down 3 in the y direction. Now, we are going to talk about, I'm going to refer to them as zeros. Some teachers say roots, some say solutions, which is really just another way to identify exactly the x-intercepts. So we would just say our solutions or our zeros, we would just say -1, 3. So it's not a coordinate point. You don't put the parentheses around it. You're just saying, hey, it's this one and that one. And just so that you sort of understand why we're calling them solutions or zero, like why is this even important? I'm going to tell you why right now. So when you're graphing a parabola, you'll get something that looks like this, and you're going to have to graph that. And it's like, wow, what? And this is why we have been factoring like crazy. Because if I factor this, I would get this. And then as in the aspire to do videos, if I set them equal to 0, if I set them equal to 0, I would get this and this, which are my solutions or zeros or roots, if you want to call them. So that's where those terms all come from. And then fun fact, we have -3, which happens to be our y-intercept. We're going to dive into that next week So this week we're just going to be identifying these parts. I'll get into a vertex and axis of symmetry in the next video. So let's just jump forward. All right, so I did a lot of talking in the last video, but let's see. X-intercepts. Remember, oops, those are coordinate points. X-intercept is a coordinate point. We've got one here, which is the coordinate point 3, 0. We've got one right here, which is -3, 0. All right, y-intercept. My y-intercept is right here, right there at -9. It's crossing over the y-axis right there at -9, making our y-intercept. So we went 0 in the x direction, down 9. And if you have trouble remembering, just think, if you're talking about a y-intercept, you should have a number for y. If you're talking about the x-intercept, you should have a number for x. Now our zeros, or roots, solutions, are just listing these two numbers. We got -3 and we got 3. And it seems redundant because it's kind of the same as this, but it's also kind of not. X-intercepts. One's there. One's there. Remember, 6, 0. Right, we have a number for the x, 18, 0. All right. Now my y-intercept is right there. So that's 0 in the x direction, down 18 in the y. That's an 18. And then my zeros, again, are just listing the 6 and the 18. No parentheses, because it's not a coordinate point. You're just listing them. X-intercepts. Right there. Okie dokie. Now the y-intercept is right there. You might want to say 6. You might want to say 4. It's kind of halfway between. I'm going to say that's at 5, right? So we would have 0 in the x direction, right? Because you're not going anywhere. But then you go up 5. And then my zeros are just 2, 10. Again, no parentheses.